Hi, my friends. Welcome to Ignited Mercy. For the last 2 weeks, we've been speaking about suffering and pain and how to carry our daily crosses. And we looked into Faustina's life and we saw how she was suffering. At times, she said she was completely overwhelmed with despair. She was trying to shout, but she had no voice. She even says, I wanted to die, but I couldn't. And she goes on to describing to us how she could not pray. She couldn't meditate. She couldn't do any readings. So she did one thing. She hung on to one thing, which was speaking to God. And that's where we can have a pick on the fact that she did have a relationship with God. She was pursuing Him. She wanted to know more about Him. And today, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. How can we know the will of God unless we get to know Him better? Unless we know what kind of a God He is? How are we going to distinguish between things that are our choices and the things we really want to do versus the things we know are in our lives because God is sending those things to us? So we're going to be reading from entry 30. On one occasion, I was reflecting on the Holy Trinity, on the essence of God. I absolutely wanted to know and fathom who God is. So here's Faustina. She's suffering, she can't pray, she can meditate, she can't read. But she's thinking, who is God? I wish I could know Him better. What is the essence of God? And along those lines, let me just tell you, the one direct order she had from Jesus was that every encounter with Him, everything that happened in her soul, she needed to tell her mother superiors. Except every time she went to them, they would think that she was crazy and they started to treat her in that manner. And she says in entry 38, because of this, believing myself to be deluded, I resolved to avoid God interiorly for fear of these illusions. But the grace of God pursued me. So Faustina wanted to know who God was, except people around her were telling her that she was cuckoo, that God was really not loving her in the way she thought He loved her, that God was really not reaching out to her in the way she thought He was. So in what ways is it that God is reaching out to you? That if you were to tell someone, they would think you're crazy too? Is He coming to you through maybe thoughts? Is He coming to you through signs that you see? Through flowers that you smell? In what ways is God reaching out to you? Because He is, believe me, reaching out to you. Then we see that because of this, Faustina wanted to know who God was. Except everything she experienced about God, He had to tell her superiors. And every time she did that, she was treated as a crazy woman. So she said, I'm done with this. She wanted to go to the priest and ask him, relieve me from this. Allow me to not have to tell anybody anything anymore. But the priest said, no way. You're going to continue to speak to us about what happens in your soul. So Faustina got tired of this. And in entry 54 we read, one day, tired out with all these uncertainties, I asked Jesus, are you my God? Or some kind of phantom? Because my superiors say that there are all sorts of illusions and phantoms. If you are my Lord, I beg you to bless me. Then Jesus made a big sign of the cross over me, and I too signed myself. When I asked pardon of Jesus for this question, He replied that I had in no way displeased Him by this question, and that my confidence pleased Him very much. So there you have it. You might not know the will of God yet, but there's one thing you can be doing right now, even though you don't know His will yet, to make sure that when the time comes that you have to decide or make a decision in your life, you know to differentiate, to discern the will of God. And this is, have a relationship with Him. Even if sometimes you don't feel like praying, then don't pray. Well, not all the time, but if you're trying and you can't, there are other ways to communicate with God. And in Faustina's diary, we see that she had a morning talk with Him, that she thought of Him, and that when she had a question, she went to Him and she spoke to Him. as if He was really there listening. So I want to invite you to believe that Jesus is really there. I believe He's really there, and I invite you to join me, to join all of us in asking Jesus, what do you want from us? What do you want from me? Are you really my God? And if so, what do I do next? So have a wonderful day, and remember, have morning talks with God. Talk to Him, pray to Him, read scripture, and in the meantime, I will see you here next Saturday. Thank you.